Good morning, David Fuhrer and Phil Price. They're coming to us today from deep in the heart of Texas wine country, that is. And David, as you know, you have been on with me before. We did the non-left coast wine series, and Phil is the winemaker at Creek Vineyards. So, David, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you are and what's in the area?
Well, hi, Robert. We're here in a glorious, deep throes of summer harvest here in the Texas Hill Country. We're along Highway 290 in the Texas Hill Country AVA appellation, right in the heart of it, here at the High Market, which is the center of activity in High. Lovely morning and afternoon food and wine service situation, and encompassing it is the local post office, which is fully active, and here we are. We're right across the street here along Highway 290 from William Creek Vineyards, who we mentioned in previous conversations. And so if you hear a passing truck, please don't be afraid. That's just the way things are here along 290. It's the main corridor running between Fredericksburg and Austin, and it's the home of a great number, I'd say the majority of wineries here in Texas. It's where the big Texas wine tourism boom has taken place. So we're in a very privileged position, and however, it's intense harvest period, so we're very lucky to have Mr. Phil Price here joining us. He's getting a little bit of a break from the hard work in the vineyards and the 100-degree-something weather.
We're very happy to have Phil with us, too. Now, Phil joined Fall Creek, I believe, in 2016, and brought with him some world-class techniques that he's using to craft fine wines with minimal inputs. What do you mean by that, minimal inputs, Phil?
Minimal inputs, so, just trying to let the vineyard and the Texas terroir kind of speak for itself. Minimal fining, try to add as little amounts of other, acids or tannins or any other products, especially with fining, trying to get everything nice and healthy for fermentation, so that the wines kind of just evolve as naturally as possible.
Kind of let the terroir speak for itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, why don't you give us a little bit of your background and tell us what you've been doing and how you got to Texas.
Sure. Well, it's almost a full circle. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, and planted my first vineyard in South Central Tennessee. We had about 2 acres of hybrids there. We have a lot more humidity and heat and rain and insects and everything you can throw at a vineyard to cause problems. But so I grew up, since 2007 doing that, and moved out to California in 2010 for my first kind of real commercial-sized harvest. That was in San Luis Obispo, California.
Yeah, that was
Central Coast.
With the Nevin family wine estates?
Yes, sir. The Nevin family wine estates. It was a very great learning opportunity. They had 6 different wine labels there. We processed up to 3,200 tons every harvest. So it was a pretty good sized operation, and got to work with a lot of fun varieties, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay mostly. A little bit of Syrah, Gruner Veltliner, Albarino, Grenache Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc. A lot of really interesting, cooler climate grapes that were very tasty.
Yeah, and then you, if I'm correct, you went to the graduate program at Cal Poly?
I did, yes, sir. Cal Poly, I attended there for about 3 years, taught some viticulture labs, lectured a little bit for viticulture classes. During harvest, it was pretty crazy. I worked about 65 hours a week at the winery. Remember my boss would come up to me and be like, "Which day do you have the most schoolwork?" And I was like, "Well, Tuesday I have about 6 hours of class." And he's like, "Okay, that's your day off." So, it was taking two classes with the lab, teaching a lab, and 65 hours a week in the winery during harvest.
So, before we started off with you, Robert, Phil and I were chatting about how early and intense this harvest here is in Texas, and he was joking, saying that, "Wow, we're gonna finish up here by first week of August. I can go work a sparkling wine harvest in California right after this, and then the full harvest in California. The way things are going."
Wow, that's amazing. Is it because it's been so hot this year that things are maturing a little earlier than expected, or is it just the nature of the beast in Texas?
It's in its own heat category for sure, but every year is different. There's not really an average year here, but we started off really cool and kind of had nice even rains in the early spring. So everything kind of started off kind of slow, well behind previous years, but all of a sudden, starting in May and June, we just blasted off the charts with heat. I think every day was like 10 degrees above average. And then this last, 2 weeks or so, we've been having several consecutive 105 plus days. So everything's finishing up very fast.
Wow. Amarone on the vine.
Exactly.
If you're careful, it will happen. If you're not careful, that's going to happen, yeah.
Yeah, really. Well, Phil, tell us a little bit about the history of Fall Creek Vineyards. A lot of our people are not so familiar with the vineyard culture in Texas, so this should be enlightening.
Yeah, I'll let Dave handle this one. It's very interesting history, one of the most interesting wineries in the state, for sure.
Well, I come from an outsider perspective, but I know the Alders now for several years since I was living in Austin. But why don't you just jump back in and work up? We're going to have different things to add to it. So Ed and Susan Aller, the founders and current proprietors of Fall Creek Vineyards, came to wine after traveling in Europe, I believe, in the 1970s, and tasting a great many wines in France, that really made them think, well, these sort of things are possible. We should try that kind of thing. Well, of course, they knew about the wines in California, but California wines at that time hadn't the position and popularity nor volume that they do anywhere today. So the world was all about, French and to a lesser degree Italian and Spanish wines coming into the U.S. In their travels, correct me please, Phil, if I get the timeline wrong, but in their travels they had met, or perhaps it was when he was in the United States, Andrei Chelachev, who, if you recall, was very much involved in the development of California wines with his association at Beaulieu Vineyard in California. And Mr. Chelachev guided them and helped them to discover that they could grow varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon in Texas, and encouraged them to pursue that as well. Did I get that pretty accurate?
Yeah. He encouraged them to plant Bordeaux varieties and see what happened, and he also encouraged them to focus on keeping things separate during fermentation and really kind of pushing towards trying to make the best wine possible, which evolved into our Meritus label, which is our top wine that we only make during select years. That was directly influenced by Andre.
So the Meritus, now that you brought that up, the Meritus is kind of a right bank Bordeaux style wine, right?
Correct. Yes, we don't really limit it to anything but Bordeaux varieties. They're all sourced from the same vineyard, Certenberg Vineyard, which is in the heart of the hill country. But yeah, the blend can change from year to year. It's usually been Cabernet, Merlot, Petit Verdot. I think one year it had some Malbec in it. But yeah, Bordeaux varieties, kind of in Andre's spirit.
Yeah, I'd love to give it a try. Sounds wonderful. And it spends 20 months in barrel and another couple years in the bottle?
Correct. Yeah, it's anywhere from 18 to, I think they've kept it in barrel for even up to 3 years before bottling. Making sure that it's ready to go and the best we can do.
Yeah, and folks, if you go to Fall Creek Vineyards website, they have a store there, and you can check out and buy a few bottles of it and give it a try. See what a Texas Bordeaux-style Meritage wine is like. Meritus. Well, that's a little off the topic, but I'm glad we got there. So, really, they were one of the Alders were one of the first Texas wineries. Is that correct?
Well, they were, should we say, amongst the early proponents in the new generation, looking for quality vinifera. But there's other vineyards, some that have come and gone, and some that still exist, such as Llano Estacado, who's one of the larger producers in Texas. They're based up in the High Plains, but they have distribution throughout the state as well. But there's a great number of there's been an explosion of wineries here in Texas, just as there has in many parts of the United States. The upside here in Texas is that Texans tend to be patriotic people, generally speaking, compared to most states, meaning that Texans like to drink Texas wine whenever possible. And so that's one of the reasons you don't see a lot of Texas wine outside the borders. However, interstate shipping allows for people to get bottles in various states in various ways. So people should be looking up the various websites promoting Texas wines. The state organization TWIGA can direct people to their website. TWGGA can get people to wines. TexasWineGrowers.com is another good site. Hill Country Wine Trail as well, and the High Plains Wine Growers are all organizations that can help steer people to the diversity of what Texas wines can offer.
It's always good to explore new venues for wine, even though the venues may be old, as in Missouri, which we were able to taste a few wines when we did the Non-Left Coast series. Phil, I thought it was interesting that when I looked at various Texas wineries, I saw that the majority of the wines being produced are vinifera varieties and not so much native varieties or blends or hybrids. So why is that?
Yeah, they grow pretty well here. We've definitely got enough heat to ripen any variety to completion. I think that, in my personal opinion, the Tempranillos and Mourvedres, even the Syrahs, Cabs, Merlot, they can all be grown and made into wine that can compete with some really good growing regions. In particular, the Mourvedre and Tempranillos that we have here. Truly, I would put them up against wines of the best growing regions that produce those varieties.
I would add to that there's been a little blip of high-quality Aglianico, which is a great variety you don't hear about much outside of Italy, and then it's with the region that's usually given to it rather than the great variety. So Texas is doing a multiplicity of really interesting full red varietal wines going on, whether single variety or blended, to be sure. There's some good stuff going on with whites and rosés and sparklings. There's been an uptick in those recently too, because given the heat summations and the high UV index that pervades the state, getting, whites can be a bit trickier getting it, should we say, to international standard. Not to say they're not drinkable, far from it. There could be some delicious Texas whites. However, on the international stage, they would sometimes pale by comparison. So in terms of working with whites and that, people have found that making bubblies, whether it be a champagne method or a pet nat, Petillon Naturel style, is really kind of picking up around here. It's showing its way quite well. And as well, Texas has been a fast adopter for rosés, too. The recent rosé boom that we've been experiencing in this country, Texas has jumped on in a big way, and there's an annual event called the Texas Wine Revolution, which I had the pleasure of participating in, presenting at the event a few months back here in the Hill Country. It was a booming success. And, it was about,
15 wineries, all showing nothing but rosés, and it was very well attended.
As that seems to be the case all over the place. The Citrus Club here in Orlando has a monthly, the Vintners Club of the Citrus Clubs has a monthly wine tasting dinner, and it's usually 5 or 6 different varieties from a particular producer or importer or a distributor. And this month, the tasting was all rosés. So there were 6 different rosés from all over the world, and it was really well attended, and I think people appreciated getting kind of a cross-reference check on what rosés can be like from Italy or France or Chile, for instance, as well as rosés from the United States. So rosés are just the perfect thing for a summer drink. Now, one of the things that I noticed is that almost every Texas winery that I looked up prior to this discussion is growing and producing Sangiovese, which is one of my favorite grapes. And I'd like to take your get your take on what Fall Creek Vineyards does with Sangiovese.
Yeah, so it's not a variety we work with all the time. We occasionally will get some from year to year. And speaking, carrying over from our last conversation, it also makes a great rosé. And I've even had, I think, there's wineries that produce a Pet Nat Sangiovese in the state as well. But as a red wine too, it does have it ripens, and the wines produced from the grape are pretty well balanced as far as tannins and alcohol and acidity. It goes well. We've used it in blends in the past at Fall Creek. We haven't yet produced a single variety Sangiovese, but I would not be opposed. It does well here for sure.
Well, interesting. Thanks for that. The Fall Creek Vineyard, it seems, does a lot of special events too. Just looking at your special events calendar, I noticed that in August alone you have 4 different events coming up. Everything from paint night to yoga to plant night and harvest celebration. So if people are interested, they can go to the Fall Creek Vineyards website and go to the events, and you can purchase tickets if you're in the area. Are those usually well attended?
Yes, sir. The biggest one by far every year is our Harvest Festival. They've been doing it for over 30 years, I believe now. In the past, it was called our Grape Stomp. So we leave a few grapes on the vines that we'll harvest, and we'll let guests come and stomp on the grapes with their bare feet. And we'll have usually the famous I Love Lucy episode playing right beside it. So it's pretty fun. We've added a lot of other events to it with celebrity chef lunches. We have a musician playing. We have usually great food, a couple educational classes as well that are options. But yeah, we usually get quite a few people at that event.
Excellent. I always love to attend events at wineries. You get to drink some great wine, usually have some good food, and get to experience a little bit of the culture of the vineyards and the wineries. So thank you, Phil. I appreciate it. You've been great, as has David. David, would you like to finish up with any remarks about Texas wines in general?
Absolutely, yeah. Robert, Texas wines have come a long way from the old days, and I would say the majority of Texas wineries and wines are of absolute international standard, and they're not to be considered as an also-ran. And, they make wine in Texas. I think we ought to be beyond those thoughts right now. Texas has been in the forefront of making high quality, non-left coast U.S. wines for several years now, and and their wines are winning medals and getting attention from folks all over the country, if not a few places from outside the U.S. too. So when you start thinking about, great wine producing states in the U.S. beyond what we know from the West Coast, you think about Texas alongside, maybe the more established, vineyards in New York, and some ones that are coming up in a strong way in Virginia as well. So Texas is amongst the best wine producing states in the U.S. Again, I want to give a shout out and thanks to the folks here in the High Market and here in the Hill Country, and to watch for bigger and better things, promoting the interests of great Texas wines.
Well, thank you, David. This is Robert Scott, host of WineLineRadio, saying thank you to Phil Price, winemaker at Fall Creek Vineyards, and David Furr, who is our resident wine expert on GoWine.com. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll hopefully see you soon.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.